Well, happy Saturday, everybody. I am, what am I doing today? I'm going to do a couple things. I think we have somebody playing peekaboo in the back. So welcome back. Today, what I am going to be making is actually a couple of things. So quick and easy pickled cabbage. I'm using the purple cabbage and I already pre-cut it. So I usually get, from my Farm Fresh to You box that gets delivered to me. It's probably about that, I would say medium size. Yeah, small to medium red cabbage. And so this recipe, it's one of my favorites. And so I'll be making this, and then I will also be making pickled onions. And I should have got more vinegar. So for the pickled onions, I use white vinegar. And for the pickled cabbage, I will give you the recipe for that right now. So 2 cups of shredded purple cabbage. And like I said, I just chopped it up. I still have a little bit left to chop up, but I already have 4 cups that four cups that I chopped up, and I already put in here, so it would be a little bit quicker. So, and I always double the recipe because I have a lovely lady I will be sharing this with. So, in mine, I have 4 cups, but I'll give you the recipe first so it's not confusing. And then you just double it. So 2 cups of the purple cabbage, and then 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and I do like to use organic. All of this is organic. And then 1/4 cup red wine vinegar. And this is one of my favorites. It's the Napa Valley Naturals, and it is amazing. So 1/4 cup of that. And then this is so easy. This is like the easiest recipe ever to make. And then it's 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And I usually put just a little bit more in there because it is delicious. And my kids love this. One of their favorites actually though is pickled onions. They love pickled onions. And I'm going to be making those after I do the cabbage. I would have done jalapenos and cucumbers if I had known I was out of vinegar, but I didn't know. So any hoosers, I'm just gonna really quick cut up the rest of this because I might actually have enough to make 3 because there's so much. Just this one little cabbage, you can probably triple this recipe because this is probably closer to 3. So what I'll do is, actually maybe I'll just save this for sauteing because I love sauteed cabbage. It's actually one of my favorite. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll take the cauliflower rice and could you guys see me at all? Keegan. Cauliflower rice, and I will mix it in with this, and it's so good. So let's just show you how easy it is. So I'm going to just double it right now so I can make sure that I don't mix it. So that was actually only 1/4 of a cup. So I'm doubling my recipe, so we will put dose in there. So there is that. And then I'll actually need, 4 tablespoons of the extra virgin olive oil. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. You might hear our neighbors are cutting a tree right now, so it's rather loud. And then 1/4 teaspoon of the salt. And I'll actually do this over this so I don't get, I want a little bit extra. Hey buddy, can you grab me one of the big metal spoons? And then there is a little extra in there, which I actually want a little extra. And then all I do is I'm going to mix this up in here. This is perfect. Thank you. I'm going to mix that up in here. And See, I like the salt in here. That's what I love. And so what happens is, even though the cabbage, it's raw, when it sits in the vinegar in the refrigerator, excuse me, it actually gets soft. So I literally just inhaled some of that salt into the back of my throat, is what I just did. And that is that. Wow, or it's the vinegar, who knows?
It smells good.
I know, it does smell good. It's actually even good just eating it like this too. I love it. And so what I use this for is I put it on salads, or I just eat it just like that, just on the side. And so cabbage is really good for, buddy, you're right in front of the camera. Cabbage is really good for your digestive system, your gut bacteria. So one of my favorites, and we're not putting a tomato in this, no. Just a little bit of salt. And that is that. And then I will be back, and so I can get the onions ready to show you how easy it is to do quick pickled onions. They are amazing. All right, guys. Well, I'm back. I have the pickled cabbage in, I love mason jars. I even drink my water out of mason jars. So that ended up being, the 4, almost actually 5 cups. So they fit into 2 of the bigger mason jars. So that is going to be amazing. And with the pickled cabbage, because there's olive oil in it, I don't know why I forgot the first time when I had made this, years ago. It was in the refrigerator and I was like, oh my gosh, what is that white stuff all over it? But it's because the olive oil hardened a little bit. So delicious. It is the best. And so now what we are making, here, I'll just show ya. There's the onions. I already cut them up, pickled onions. So I used 2 small onions. I might end up having to cut another onion up because I will try to pack it into one of the bigger mason jars, but I want to have a little bit extra, so I'll have another. So for this recipe, again, it's super easy. My mom actually she found this recipe a couple of years ago. And the recipe that she had found called for sugar when you make the jalapenos, but I don't use the sugar in it. And the reasoning for putting sugar in it, like if you're doing pickled jalapenos, which we are not doing today, but I'm just being reminded of this, the sugar for some reason helps the jalapenos not be as hot. Well, I love them hot, so I don't use it. And then it's less sugar that I'm using too. So for this recipe, and this recipe is the same if you make pickled onions, jalapenos, or cucumbers. So it's pretty simple. It's 1 cup of water, and I'm just warming the water a little bit, not very much. So when I put the salt in it, it's probably warm enough. When I put the salt in it, it'll dissolve. So it's 1 cup, it's a 1-to-1 ratio. 1 cup of water and 1 cup of white vinegar. So, and I just used the last bit of mine, so. And then it is so I would say 1.5 tablespoons of salt. So I added a little bit extra vinegar in here because I just wanted to use the rest that was in my bottle. So it almost ended up being 2 cups. And I just put like maybe a splash more of water, not much. So I will probably use the 1.5 tablespoons of salt. So this recipe is so easy. So I'm going to take, actually, let me do that first. And so I'm just going to do the salt right over that warmed water that I just did. So it's going to be 1 tablespoon and then a half. So there's a little bit extra going in there. It's totally fine. Man, these are so good. I absolutely love anything with vinegar. This is the craziest thing. When I was younger, I was just telling my kids about this the other day. I used to drink pickle juice because I loved the vinegar in there and the saltiness. And it didn't stop there. I used to drink Italian dressing, like the salad dressing. Like I would drink it, and then sometimes I would even put a little bit more salt in it, which is so crazy to think of. And then I would take sliced cheese, and I would just, I don't know why I would chop it up into like little, tiny pieces, and then I would put it in the Italian dressing, and I would eat that, and then drink the dressing. Craziest thing. I don't drink Italian dressing anymore, but I do still drink dill pickle juice because it is so good. So the salt is dissolved. It dissolves pretty quickly. So now I'll just take the white vinegar, and then I'm just going to mix it in. And then I'll just stir it up just to make sure that all of that salt that is in there is actually dissolved. And then I'll just take the onions, and I actually think that I'm going to need more onion, because this doesn't look like, I'll be surprised if this is gonna fill the big mason jar, but we'll see. Maybe it will. One of my most favorite things, so I know I've told you guys my mom canned a lot of stuff growing up. So I love these. They go right into, they're amazing. Look at, see? They're made for mason jars. They're made for people who do canning. And so it just, boop, goes right down into the mason jar. So if you're dumping liquid in is when it's really amazing. So I'll just put the onions in with my hands. But when I'm dumping the liquid in, if I were to just dump it into that jar, out of this pan, I would probably lose some for sure. So I am just kind of breaking the onions up so they're not, all stuck together when I throw them in this mason jar. So, and these onions, the pickled onions, like an hour, they're already ready. And the same thing, you can just take these and you can, we just eat them right out of the jar. My kids even eat them. My two younger, they're the ones who love them. They will eat them out of the jar. There's one day, I remember when we homeschool now, but when Keegan was going to private school, we would have them make their own lunches. And so I was like, oh, okay, buddy, what did you take? What'd you take for your vegetable for lunch today? And his teacher actually ended up telling us he took a bag of pickled jalapenos and onions, and that's what he was eating. So I was like, oh my goodness, that's how good they are, you guys. So I think for me, it's just the vinegar that just makes them, vinegar makes anything amazing. It's so good. When I make salad, that's pretty much what I put on my salad, is just apple cider vinegar and a little bit of oil. Sometimes I don't even use the oil. I just use the vinegar because I love it so much. Well, I think I will need to cut up another onion, and then that way it'll give me more in this jar, and then just a little bit more, not much, because I do like to pack it down, but I want to have another jar too, because they're going to be gone so fast. So all you do, like I said, this goes right on top. I'll just give this another stir. This is the vinegar, water, and salt mixture. Sometimes I taste it. That's delicious. I'm just saying. And then voila, you just pour it right on top of your onions. And I fill it all the way up to the top. And there's really not that much liquid left in there, so I might have to get an even smaller mason jar. And that is it, you guys. So this usually only takes, it only took me not even 5 minutes to cut up the red cabbage. So a total of 15 minutes to make, these, 20 minutes if I was gonna do cucumbers. So there it is, yay, they're so good. thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure that you hit like or subscribe to the video. And I cannot wait for springtime, just because I have lots of new recipes that I'm going to be trying this spring, so that I've been kind of collecting and getting ideas from some of my other books that I have, and just thoughts that I've had of what to cook. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.